Welcome and greetings, everyone, for joining us for the third and final pre event webinar, which is titled Innovations in Crop Protection Mechanisms and Enhancing Soil Health, Making the African Farming Industry Successful and Sustainable. So, this webinar is conducted under the banner of Africa Agri Expo, which is the largest event in Nairobi in next month. My name is Afshin Siddiqui, and I have the honor of conducting this important webinar with our distinguished panelists. We have Mr. N.K. Rajavelu. He is the CEO of Godrej Agrovet Crop Protection Business Department. We have Karen Ayabi. She is agronomist at OCP Africa. We have Dr. Adam Soke. He is the Director, Business Strategy for African Markets at Rokusan Limited. We have Mr. Surendra Bakshi. He is the Advisor of Agronomy and Plant Science at FarmFluence Automation. Welcome, all of you. So, agriculture practices are vital in producing good quality food and the ecosystem health. So therefore, along with introducing modern innovations into the sector, it is imperative to give special attention to agricultural plant protection, especially in Africa, which is trying to bounce back from the impacts of pandemic, social crisis, and climate change. So to discuss this further in detail, Mr. Rajavelu, I need to ask you, in accordance with your expertise, that is agrochemicals offerings, what innovations in the agri sector can support in increasing crop yields and help accelerate sustainable transformations at scale?
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for having me here, Afshin. I'll try to explain based on certain experiences that we have in India, as well as in terms of what Godrej crop protection business is doing in India, which could be of major help. And I'm sure that this will add value to the African farming as well. And we will be happy to share more information as we move on. So while it's being done, we had one interesting program called as Mission Red Gram. Red Gram is a very important crop in India. It's been popularly grown in a state called southern state called Karnataka and parts of Gulbarga and then Maharashtra and few other areas. One of the important aspect of red gram is the low yield, and it's a rain-fed crop in many areas. So they depend on rainfall and proper establishment of the crop once the sowing is completed. And the major problem that they normally face is yield based on very seasonal factors beyond your pest and diseases attack. So we have put a program in place called as Mission Red Gram, where we have demonstrated through a small, simple, but an innovative technology which helps the farmers to improve the yield. We call this as a concept selling, which is the bee hotel. The pollination is an important aspect for red gram, and improving the pollination during the life cycle of the red gram crop is one critical factor that will increase the yield significantly. So in that regard, we have done a small initiative as a part of our CSR program. And what we have done here is we call that concept as bee hotel concept, which helps to improve the pollination. And we have targeted about 50,000 farmers in the red gram area. And it's a small, a sort of a wooden structure which is being placed in the red gram fields, which allows the pollination to happen and the bees to proliferate in that field, which will help the farmers to get better yield. We require about 3 to 4 per acre, and we could see the drastic difference in terms of the yield because of the pollination, the farmers. So I'm sure you are seeing the screen now. So this is the scalability, like Mission Red Gram, and we looked upon as an important aspect to develop the yield parameters in the Red Gram farms in India. So we got about, we set the context, like as I said, the poor demand for crop chemicals, lower farmer income and productivity. And we also thought, how do we increase the sale of the right crop chemicals and not the everyone that we want to do it, and sustainable solution. And what we did in terms of prototyping the idea, we piloted in 50 villages and about 250 farmers. And the impact that it has generated is about 40% yield improvement. And we are now focusing to cover 50,000 acres. So far, I have covered, and we are trying to engage 10,000 farmers in the current year. We distributed about 500 bee hotels to all the farmers. So what does bee hotel look like? I don't know whether this video will...
Mission Red Gram, an initiative by Godrej Agrovet. India is the largest producer and consumer of red gram in the world. The yield of this essential pulse crop, also known as arhar or tur, is affected by various factors like moisture, nutrition management, pest and disease management, and presence of pollinators. We are fully aware of the role played by the first three factors. We often ignore the role played by the presence of pollinators. Though we ignore the contribution of these pollinators, they play an important role in the productivity of red gram. The red gram flowers consists of both male and female parts in the same flower, thus making them self-compatible. This means that the individual plant can provide its own pollens to set seeds or to produce fruits. You will now wonder that if red gram can self-pollinate, then what is the role of cross-pollination? Though the researchers have attributed various physiological reasons responsible for low seed set, scientific trials show that cross-pollination is known to improve the rate of seed setting. Leaf cutter bee, or megachile, is one such important pollinator, which is different from the honeybee we usually see around us. This solitary bee nests inside hollow crevices and promotes pollination by carrying pollens from plant to plant. The reproductive organs of red gram flowers are hidden inside a boat-shaped bottom petal, which bursts open when knocked by the bee, thus collecting the pollen. This initiates the pollination process. With the current farmer practice of monocropping and use of toxic pesticides extensively, the population of Megachilidae bees has reduced to great extent. To improve red gram productivity, bees need favorable conditions like planting of sunhemp, a flowering crop on the periphery of red gram plantations. This provides alternate pollen and foraging spots. Additionally, nesting sites like bee hotels can be installed around the farm to attract the bees. After 2 years of relentless research, Godrej Group has designed Mission Red Gram to make red gram farming more profitable. This mission mainly revolves around planting crops like sunhemp in the periphery and providing nesting sites like bee hotels to the Megachile bee. So far, set up 250 Godrej bee hotels in over 50 villages in the Gulbarga district, covering a farmer base of over 1,500 farmers. This initiative has led to an increase of 25% in the yield of red gram for the user farmers. This year, Godrej Agrovet is planning to distribute 5 metric tons of sunhemp seeds and engage with over 15,000 farmers. Let's make every red gram farmer's dream come true by adopting Mission Red Gram. Mission Red Gram.
Sorry. So this is the concept, we have the red gram. It's a small wooden sort of a thing where bees can come and reside and help us in terms of the pollination of this. So this is one thing that we do it from an innovative solution point of view. And the second thing is, we have very good products which are first of its kind in India. We deal with all these crops. And we have already have very good innovative molecules like pyrethroibac sodium for cotton herbicide, fluxametamide from Nissan, and homobrasillinoids is one thing that we have a very good presence in terms of grapes, in terms of cotton, where the yield and it's not only controlling the pests and diseases, but how do we really give a package of innovative products which can help the crop grow. And we are the largest company and second largest in PGR in India. 70% of the export grapes, what we sell are getting out of India, is actually treated by our PGR, that is homobrasillinoids. We do have very good collaborations with all these following companies where we select, pick and choose the most innovative solutions beyond pesticides, beyond insecticides, beyond herbicides. It's a complete portfolio that we are known to introduce new products into this country. And we as Godrej to the Indian farmers, and I'm sure that this will happen in a very positive way in African environment as well. As we are a very good supply chain partner. We have world-class formulation lab where we have innovative formulations to develop very good mixtures. We have patient capital to invest for a long term. 125 years of legacy, one of the most trusted brand in India, and when we have a very good track record of execution and government relationship. These all factors help us to bring very good innovative solutions, which we are doing it. Apart from the drones, apart from other activities, I just wanted to focus, which is very pertinent to us and what we have demonstrated in India, which is more authentic than talk about other innovative solutions, which obviously everybody is aware of it. So that's from our side, Afshin. Thanks for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rajavelu. I'm sure the things that you mentioned, the projects that you have already done in India, I think Africa has a similar geography, and the success rate in India would exactly replicate the success rate in African soil as well. So with that, I'm sure the increasing concern of food production coupled with new pests and diseases due to erratic climate conditions will boost the usage of agrochemicals in Africa, and this will enhance the growth and productiveness of plants. Right. So talking of productiveness, Karen, can you please tell us how important is fertilizer and soil customization to produce better yields in the farming process?
Oh, thank you for this. This is Karen from OCP Africa. Just to brief you, OCP Africa is one of the largest phosphate producing fertilizer company. That is a subsidiary of the larger OCP group. It was started in 2016, and it is present in more than 20 African countries. Our role and mandate is to serve the African farmer. And what we do mainly is to supply fertilizers and balanced fertilizers to the African farmers with the aim of increasing productivity in a more sustainable and eco-friendly way. So why we do this? Fertilizers are a very critical component when it comes to productivity. It's one of the key inputs that we need to increase food, and we need to increase yields. So when we talk about fertilizer, we're talking about supplying nutrients to the crop. So once we supply nutrients, we need a very balanced nutrients so that we are able to achieve productivity. Currently, we know more so in sub-Saharan Africa, the rate of fertilizer use is still very low, and we need to increase. We are not even halfway of the global average. And what we're doing as OCP Africa is to make sure that we're increasing the usage of fertilizers in a more sustainable and a more friendly manner. So as we look into more of the fertilizers that we have are currently supplying the three key nutrients, as the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. So we're looking into, and we understand our soil. The soil states are more different. Our regions are more different. So when we talk about customized balanced fertilizer, we're talking about fertilizers that are very crop specific, that are very region specific, and that are able to supply the needed nutrients so that we're able to achieve productivity. Our current productivity is at 25% the potential. So we still have a long way to go. So we do understand that we no longer have enough space to increase for increasing productivity. What we have is a limited space. So we need to make sure that the increase in unit per area is very high. So the importance of fertilizers, and more so balanced fertilizers, cannot be underestimated. And as OCP Africa, we're doing a lot to make sure that farmers are able to get nutrients that are very crop specific, that are very crop specific and that are region specific, and they're supplying the nutrients that are needed. So that is what we're doing as OCP Africa. So in terms of what we do for developing customized fertilizers, we do understand, we do quite a lot of study to understand the soil, the crop, the environment, and also the farmer practices that are being carried out, so that from the experience and the research and development that we've put into, we're able to have an in-depth assessment and come up with products that are able to supply the needs of our smallholder farmers in the African market.
Right. Thank you, Karen. But as you said that there are some farmers in the region who still lack access to these agriculture inputs and fertilizers for crop production. So to strengthen this at the base level, are there any specific programs that will benefit African farmers directly?
Yes, we do have quite a lot of farmer-centric programs as OCP Africa. And one of the critical things that we must understand, especially when it comes to use of fertilizers, is understanding the soil fertility. One of the critical programs that we are running as OCP Africa is soil mapping. We try to map the soils of the continent so that we understand which region needs what kind of fertilizers. So these are very specific programs, but one of the critical programs that we have is what we call the OCP School Lab. This is a program that has, it is a program that has a mobile soil laboratory that travels to the most remotest parts of the country where our farmers are. Then we do provide soil testing for them. And this is a program that we're carrying it at absolutely no cost to the farmer. We're bearing the cost as OCP Africa. Once we do the soil testing for the farmers, we're able to make recommendations on the kind of fertilizer application that they need to apply that are very soil and crop specific and meeting the needs of the farmers. So this is a program that we've been able to carry out in many African countries. We've been able to analyze soils of more than 25 million hectares of land, arable land. And we've been able, through this program, we've been able to come up with quite a number of customized fertilizers that are very centric to the farmers across the different countries that we are operating. In Kenya, for instance, we've been able to, like last year, we were able to cover more than 20,000 hectares of land through soil testing program for farmers. We do it for free. And then we've been able, through this, we've come up with programs with the support of the government we're looking into developing customized fertilizers or balanced fertilizers that are going in tandem or that are in tandem with the soil fertility test that we've had. So we have quite a lot of farmer-centric programs as institutions that are geared towards ensuring that our farmers more so in the continent are able to increase their yields and using fertilizers that are very specific and are very and are going to increase the yields. We aim at seeing that the farmers are able to increase their yields in the next few years. And out of this, even as institutions, as an institution, for instance, this year, we have programs that are targeting the farmer. For instance, we have 4 million tons of fertilizers that are geared towards coming to the market this 2023 that are targeting to reach 44 million African farmers. And this will be cut across 35 countries in the continent. So we have quite a number of programs that are very farmer-centric. as an institution.
Wonderful, Karen. So these various educational and training initiatives and the ones that you mentioned for the soil testing and providing farmers with the resources they need, joining hands with the government, of course, to extend reach will definitely lead to sustainable agricultural development in Africa in the long run. So yes, as we are discussing on sustainability, Adam, please educate us on the major benefits of using organic farming methods, or let's say organic fertilizers.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. My name is Adam Seke and I represent Rokosan. Rokosan is a company which produces organic fertilizers from animal byproducts and waste. This is very much interesting topic because I would like to say that organic farming is not only about organic fertilizers. It's a very much complex topic, and I would like to thanks also to Kodre Agrovet and OCP by doing their work, because I need to say that ecological transformation is very much connected to the technology, to the science, to the mapping of the soil. And I would like to give you our insight on that. Why organic farming matters. In past years, we can see a transformation of many farmers in Africa who are trying to become more ecological. From my experience, working more than 7 years in Africa, in Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Ethiopia, Cameroon, Nigeria, and so on, I have to say that I see a huge increase of farmers who are trying to become more organic. To give you the main advantages of why should we look into organic farming, the main issue is that by not using organic nitrogen and organic fertilizers in overall, we are slowly degrading the soil quality. Which means that in the future, the soil will require even more synthetic fertilizers to preserve the same yields. However, if we look into this as an opportunity, by increasing the organic content inside of the soil, we can increase the natural fertility by increasing the amount of microorganisms currently in the soil. Those microorganisms are very important for the release of the nitrogen, but also there is one important thing we need to think about, because climate change is very much connected to the lack of water, and the less organic matter we can find in the soil, the less water it can hold. By not holding the water, we are then meeting with the problem that the soil may become very much dry and will not sustain the yields. These are the results of monocropping, of using the synthetic fertilizers, or not using the right combination of the fertilizers. Because of course, organic fertilizers, they also need to contain nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus to work very well. There is one mistake which are usually connected to the agronomists, not only in Africa, but all around the world, that organic fertilizers usually are mistaken just for the manure. This is not true, because currently there are many organic fertilizers on the market which can offer very good yields. They can offer amino acids, humic acids, and NPK content. For example, our company produces a specialty liquid fertilizers, which works well in all the weather conditions. We have a very good results, for example, from Kenya, where we tested on tea, coffee, and traditional crops. And what we can say that our fertilizer can work very well on its own, but it also works well when it's combined with the traditional fertilizers. And what is the great thing? We can mix it with any kind of plant protection. This is very much interesting because even gentleman from Godre Adrovet mentioned that how bees are important for the farming. And I would like to connect to this topic. If we are using harmful chemicals, we are slowly destroying the whole ecosystem. The microorganisms in the soil are suffering, the bees are suffering, so the pollination process is stalling. And at the same time, the fertilized land can become a pollutant for the groundwater or even for the animals which are feeding from the fertile ground. This is the opportunity for us to think about transformation of the agriculture. I know it's not an easy task, not going to happen in 5 years, because importance of the chemical fertilizers is very much huge, because we need to sustain the yields, we need to sustain the amount of the fertilizer to feed the population. But at the same time, we need to think about future and about enhancing the quality of soil, because soil is a treasure which we need to bring to next generations. But to answer the question why African farmers could look into ecological and organic fertilizers, one of the things is we are also founding member of Association of Organic Fertilizer Producers of Slovakia. And from our experience, what we can say, most of the fertilizer could be produced in African countries from the local resources. This would make the fertilizers more affordable. We would be cutting costs for the transports, and by making fertilizer available, it would change the dilemma of the farmers, because the decreased usage of the fertilizer of African farmers is not only connected to the financial capacity, but sometimes also to the availability of the fertilizer, like it is in Rwanda, where there is currently a lack of fertilizers. Same wise in Tanzania, where we know that at least half of the demand of Tanzanian farmers is not met due to the lack of the fertilizer. So what I am saying is we should look into on how to bring factories to African countries to make the countries somewhat self-sufficient in production of organic fertilizers. And this would be interesting for all of the farmers, but also for all of the producers and distributors of the agro products in Africa, because Africa is the biggest market and it will grow. So I would like to end my speech with a statement that I believe that future is in Africa, but Africa has no future without organic farming. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Adam. So absolutely, it is true that the availability of the raw materials is already there in Africa, and we need to develop solution based on that, which will ultimately reduce the supply chain issues and will also drive a country towards achieving self-sufficiency. So as we are talking about agrochemicals and fertilizers, and Adam has said about the soil health, so this brings me to my last question for Surendra Bakshi. What is agronomy in general and its importance in agriculture? Can you please explain the connection between soil health, right crop selection, and geographical location?
Good afternoon and good morning, everyone. The agronomy is a process, it's a science, it's a part of a branch of agriculture which deals in crop protection, production, soil management. That is the science which is there. And if anything is imbalanced, just like the previous speakers, Mr. Raj said, or Karen said, or Adam said, everybody has given their briefs about what they are doing. Karen is selling synthetic fertilizer. Adam is selling organic fertilizers. This confuses the farmers, and certainly it is affecting the soil health, because the farmer is never going to stop growing. He needs a crop every single day to be there in his farm. Agronomy is how the soil interacts with the available or growing crops and the nutrients needed, how timely, what are the components of the nutrients that are to be added in there. That is the overall agronomy, we can say. The scope of agronomy is tremendous. Agronomy helps the cultivators in identifying the most suitable season for the cultivation of a various variety of crops. Now, this is also everything based in internally connected with the soil health. And that is where we had heard Karen saying that there are geographical locations which are differing in the soil structures everywhere in India, in Africa, anywhere in the world where the agriculture is on. So based on that, we are selecting the crops. If the soil health is not good, whatever the fertilizers which we are putting in, may it be organic, may it be synthetic, will keep on increasing its demand for the soil. And that is the reason that in the world right now, the seed life, that is a particular variety of seed which is introduced by some companies, is reducing. Every 2 years, there is a requirement of new seed for every type of crops. One of the reasons is that the soil depletion is in tremendously fast, and which is not holding, like Adam said, nitrogen due to the climate change, deforestation, less of oxygen, water retention capacity. All this is because major part of the world has been using synthetic fertilizers over the period of time. Whether it is needed or it is not needed, it is a practice which was introduced by their forefathers. And just keep on doing that, whatever the forefathers have told them. And one of the things which is increasing the usage of synthetic chemicals also, pesticides and all that, is because the plant's vigor is getting hampered due to the soil health. The fertilizer is a temporary issue, and nobody is talking about the residual effect of all these fertilizers. We are not discussing the residual effect. I have taken a crop, but it has left behind certain chemicals which are going to deplete the soil over the period of time. And if you have seen, this concern of soil health is suddenly come up after about just before a couple of years or 5 years ago. Otherwise, till that time, nobody was even bothered about the soil. Everybody was interested in synthetic fertilizer, organic fertilizer, and to revive the crop and to get the desired results, we are using all the chemicals and fertilizers. So to basically improve the soil health, I would agree with Adam that he is doing something with the animals, with the animal waste. Same thing is available in the farm, around the farm, that is an organic matters. So this is one of the reasons that the world is moving towards soilless or vertical farming. And all the panelists would agree with me. The reason behind that is that you keep on using every year 50 kilos per acre urea. It was there 10 years ago. Now it has gone to 75 to 100 kilos per acre. Now, what is that increase? Why it has increased? The soil is the same, the land is the same, the crop is the same. This is because of that reason, that the depletion of the soil is going in a mega way, which is giving these problems. So at a time will come when there is going to be a huge amount of fertilizers to be used, which are creating other climatic problems also while it is being manufactured and while it is being used. And one of the reasons, if you have observed during this pandemic, what had happened to the people was breathlessness or less of oxygen in the blood passing through. That stage has come for the earth. So earth also requires replenishing of its oxygen, which is required by the people around, by the plants around, by the animals and all. But that decrease in the level of oxygen in the world is also causing these climate change problems. if we start producing more and more oxygen, the soil will improve with the organic matter, and the climate change or the season shift, that is the farming seasons are getting shifted in a drastic way across the world. And when the time of harvesting is coming up, there is unseasonal rains, there are hailstorms, which is destroying the crop. So whatever we are trying to do has to be a cumulative effort from each and every sector, like Agrovet, Godrej Agrovet, what they can do, what Adam can do, what Karen can do, what I can do, and come out with a solution for each countries as to what is the way forward. And I would request during this African summit, I would request the countries who are representing there, or the people who are there, the government, I would like to request them to give or form into a group which runs a trial show there in some of the areas which are badly affected, and see the difference within a year or two by using Adam's technology, by using Karen's fertilizers, and simultaneously I'll do with my organic matter. So what can help and what is the difference which will be seen will give a way forward for what we are supposed to do in the coming years, because this is not our land. This is inherited from our people who are going to come, who are still unborn. And a stage will come when there won't be any plant or any tree on the earth. It will be completely barren. It's just like we are seeing a lot of European green forests are catching fire. Now, I have never heard in my life that a green leaf can get burnt. It has to dry completely to get itself burned. But what are these reasons? This is a methane gas which is trapped between the jungles, between the leaves, and slightest friction is causing the spark, and the methane gas is catching the fire. And there is ample amount of methane which is getting trapped there, though it is lighter than oxygen, but still through the breeze and through the wind, and it is getting condensed over the forest, and it drops down. So those kind of things are needed to start making on a way forward. Summits can be happening there, but the results have to be seen and the impacts have to be seen. Like United Nations have spent about $155 trillion on climate change since the time of its inception of climate change policies. But every day we are hearing forest fires are increasing, bushfires are going on. And there are new regions which are getting under cover of this forest fire. Say, for instance, we are talking about the greenhouse effect. Now, there is a way of tackling that. Right now in Africa, in European people are being taxed for a cattle fart or a cattle burp. Just a minute. Now, taxing the farmer for a natural process of an animal will not help. What can be done? So changing of the grain, changing of the grass, which doesn't create those gases, and all that will help in maintaining and managing and getting back the soil health with the help of Karen, with the help of Adam and myself. How to revive the soil is a major issue. Healthy soil is the foundation, which I was mentioning earlier also, like even Adam was saying. If you buy the most expensive seed, buy the most expensive fertilizers, and buy the most expensive water, still, if the soil health is not good, it is deteriorated completely, you will not get the desired results. I am 100% there that we need money for sustainability, but we also must look into what we are supposed to give back to the country, to the nation, to the earth, which has been giving us for the last 80 years. A mango tree has been producing the mangoes for the last 80 years. Generations have passed. But how much have these people done to their mango tree? Nothing. The same is the case. We are affected by the the crops which are connected for a daily consumption, like all the maize, all the pulses, all the crops which are daily needs, because their cycle is very short. And that's where, to get maximum out of that short cycle, we are inducing a lot of fertilizers, a lot of synthetic chemicals, promoter growers, grower promoters, everything is being installed in there. And it is leaving certain bad things there and continues doing that over the period of time. Solutions to improve the soil health is use of organic material. Gradually, you'll see the impact. Monitoring is required by the concerned farmers, farmer groups, and the authorities. Production of oxygen is a must. And I was trying to tell Adam and Karen that if we can get into some